Alright, Shalom, Shalom. I'm Rayala coming at you with another lesson straight out of Lion's Den Camp of Yashala. But before I get started with this lesson, I would like to give all praise to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son and their proper true names. And we're going to start off by saying, Call Halam La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ha, Rakak, Wadash, Ma'amah. Definitely want to give double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Definitely want to give double honors to my elder apostle, Harwan Van Yashala of the Lion's Den Camp, located right here in Jacksonville, Florida. All right, Shalom to the bishop and the rest of the Lion's Den, the rest of the Akim of the Lion's Den Camp. Shalom and Shalom to the rest of the elect that's out there. Shalom. All right, today's lesson is going to be going back into, it's another Lion's Den news and prophecy, as my bishop like to say. Right, we're just going into the prophecies of, of the current events, man. So the reason why we do these videos, right, because for one, Yahweh Shem Yahushua told us to, right, right, to, basically give out that proper sign to the people, man, give warning to the people, so that way they can be ready in that day for salvation, man, right, warning the people that the day of the Lord is coming, the day of the Lord is near, all right, and if you don't keep up with the current events and you're not keeping up with the prophecies, man. All right, because we are in biblical times. There's no such thing as that was biblical times. The Bible was biblical time. We are still in those biblical times. All right. So that being said, it's been a lot of back and forth between Iran and America. All right, they've been striking each other back and forth, attacking each other. So like you. All right, but Iran has put out a major threat. All right, just today. All right. Matter of fact, this was posted 6 hours ago. All right. The article says Iran just threatened to crush all the infrastructure in the region over Hormuz, right? Hormuz, and promised America, see that, and promised America a superior strike. Let me see something here, man. This is the spokesperson for Iran, right? Let me see something. All right, bear with me real quick. I want to see something real quick. Donald Trump. All right, so it's been a lot of people have been calling Donald Trump Taco. All right, and this is why. All right, it says Trump Taco refers to a viral acronym coined on Wall Street that stands for Trump always chickens out. All right. So I was just grabbing that for this particular article because Iran, when they make a promise, they follow through with their promise. All right. They're not one of the ones, they don't have this basically this stamp over their head, right? And Trump has this stamp over his head. Like it says, the Trump Taco refers to a viral acronym coined on Wall Street that stands for Trump always chickens out. All right. So it's a lot of people that, the MAGA, they finally got excited because Trump is starting to strike, right? But Iran, what did they say? It says and promise America a superior strike. All right. So when they put out threats like that, this is nothing to be played with. All right. They don't have that stamp of being called, that acronym over their head of taco, right? Chickening out. Well, you can't call them taco because their name don't start with a T, but they won't chicken out, right? When they give promises, that's what they mean what they say. All right, these are the Persians, man. You got to remember that. These are the Persians, all right, today. All right, the article here, all right, reads, it says, Iran calls the Strait of Hormuz a red line. The United States and Iran have continued to trade shots in their resumed conflict. And on Thursday, the Iranian side made a threat, which is today, about the Strait of Hormuz, on which the U.S. has imposed a blockade. According to NPR, the U.S. and Iran have now once again been firing at each other, all right, for 6 days, essentially putting an end to the ceasefire that would that was agreed to in the memorandum of understanding in mid-June. All right. It says U.S. Air Force senior airman. All right, let's jump down to the point. All right, I'm gonna skip all this. All right, this is just talking about fighter jets and them getting prepared. All right, but let's get down to the point of this article, of this video. All right, it says U.S. Central Command. Right, that's what they call CENTCOM. Right, it just stands short for Central Command. It says, all right, U.S. CENTCOM, right, announced, right, not sitcom but CENTCOM, all right, announced in a social media post that it had completed, right, a new series of strikes. It says, quote, U.S. forces struck Iranian command centers. Right. It says air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities to further degrade Iran's, however you want to say, ability to threaten innocent mariners, crewing commercial vessels transitioning the Strait of Hormuz. All right. So the U.S. basically struck, right, Iranian, right, command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities. All right, this is what America just recently struck. All right, they're basically just trying to slow down Iran. But it says the Post said CENTCOM used precision munition to hit targets in multiple locations, including Bandar Abbas, if I said that right. It says the Post added that U.S. forces had, quote, struck coastal defense and cruise missile sites on Greater Sum Island. Right? I had to look that word up, but it's I guess it's supposed to be pronounced some, like sun with a B at the end of it, but island, during a 90-minute wave, and that the U.S. military is holding Iran accountable, right, at the commander-in-chief direction. All right, and my bishop just did a lesson about accountability too. All right, just something you might want to check out. But anyway, it says right. So it says it says the Post added that the U.S. forces had struck coastal defense and cruise missile sites on Greater Sum Island during a 90-minute wave. All right. Let's see if I believe I had that pulled up for you guys. Alright, let's see if I got it here. It's lucky. Alright, here we go.
Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb, Persian, Tribi Buzurg W Tribi Kauk Tonbe Bozorg and Tonbe Kuchik, Arabic, Tribi Alkbri W Tribi Alskri Tunb El Kubra and Tunb El Sugra are two small islands in the eastern Persian Gulf, close to the Strait of Hormuz. They lie at 26 degrees 15 and 55 degrees 16 E and 26 degrees 14 and 55 degrees 08 E respectively, some 12 kilometers from each other and 20 kilometers south of the Iranian island of Keshem. The islands are administered by Iran as part of its Hormozgan province, but are also claimed by the United Arab Emirates as a territory of the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Greater Tunb has a surface of 10.3 square kilometers. It is known for its red soil. There are conflicting descriptions about its population. While some sources state there are between a few dozen and a few hundred inhabitants, others describe the island as having no native civilian population. There is reported to be an Iranian garrison and naval station, an aircraft runway, a fish storage facility and a red soil mine. Lesser Tunb has a surface of 2 square kilometers and is uninhabited with the exception of a small airfield, harbor, and entrenched Iranian military unit.
All right, so just wanted to play that to give you a little understanding on what it was talking about, right? These two islands. All right, I hate they put the play right in. All right, which are these two right here? All right, right, dash smack, in between Iran and the UAE. All right, but yeah. So that's what America just basically struck. It says the Post added, let's read it again. The Post added the U.S. forces had struck coastal defense and cruise missiles sites on Greater TUNB, is how they were saying it, island, but some island during a 90-minute wave. And the U.S. and that, quote, the U.S. military is holding Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's direction. It says Iran responded by talking tough in response. Right? It says, quote, all the infrastructure in the region will be crushed, end quote. In a statement Thursday by this gentleman, all right, that is the spokesman for Iran military. All right, it says, let's scroll down a little bit. Right, it says he threatened further at attacks on the region if the U.S. went through the widespread strikes on Iran's infrastructure or interfered with the Strait of Hormuz. It says, quote, all the infrastructure in the region will be crushed under the steel blows of the powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the spokesman said. Right? Quote, under no circumstances and in no way will we allow America as a foreign and extra-regional country to interfere in the Strait of Hormuz, end quote, the spokesman said. Quote, this is Iran's invincible red line. See that? Ooh. What Iran said. Well, let's go to Joel real quick. All right. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's what Iran is saying, man. Right? In no way will America... You see that? These are the Persians, man. What they said? And under no circumstances and in no way will we allow America as a foreign and extra-regional country to interfere in the Straits of Hormuz. This is the weak saying that they're strong, man. They're not backing down. They're ready. They have been saying that they're ready. They have been screaming that they are strong. They're no longer they have beat their plowshares into swords, man. Getting ready for war after war. Right? They haven't even started using their heavy duty or new militia, right? Dealing with different missiles, technology, drones, whatever. They're still using their old stuff, right? But the point is that, the Lord is getting, he's stirring up the pot right now, man. He's getting everybody ready to gather down in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, man, start World War III, right? So, matter of fact, let me grab that. Let's see, ooh, stop doing that. All right, I'm gonna just go here. Wrong one. Slacky. Jeremiah 50. All right. Let's go to Jeremiah 50. All right, and 22. All right. No, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Come back to that. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna wait to come back to this one. All right. Let's grab this one. I was in the right spot. Select. All right, this is Jeremiah 50 and 45. It says, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Right. And that's what's happened already, man. You see what Netanyahu has been doing, right? Netanyahu in the state of Israel has drawn America into this war, man. right? And now it's just basically like Iran and America going at it, right? you know, uh, but that's what the state of Israel, Netanyahu and them wanted, man. You know, they wanted America to be the ones to go up against Iran, Iran, however you want to say it, but go up against them because they knew they couldn't do it, right? Because just like we read in Joel, right? Joel 3, it says, beat your plowshares into swords. And that's what Iran was doing, man. They got ready. They was ready. They are ready, right? Let the weak say I'm strong. They are ready. They've been claiming and informing the people that they've been ready to go to war with America, man. You know, they're not scared. You know, so they have their tactics and they you know have claimed that they have a super strike coming this way, as the title was saying, right? Let's go back up. It says, and promised America a superior, right, strike. Superior strike. All right, so right. So Iran said what? They're not just going to bow down and allow themselves to be destroyed, or America, like it says, under no circumstances, right? And in no way will we allow America as a foreign and extra-regional country to interfere in the Strait of Hormuz, right? It says the spokesman said, right, this guy, right? Well, he don't look like no taco to me. I'm just saying, that boy look like they ready. Select. But yeah, so back to what it says. It says Premier News. It says the spokesman said. The spokesman added that, quote, the foolish enemy. Damn. It said the foolish enemy should know that the moment of epic for us is not a moment of avoidance. It said what comes from the armed forces of Iran is not an equal strike. It is a superior strike, a strike that will be more severe, more extensive, and more devastating than ever. Right? I haven't read further than this, but it says tanker traffic is affected. According to the New York Times, only 13 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz during the first full day of the U.S. blockade. This was down from 21 ships that passed through the day before. The Times said, citing the shipping data from firm Kepler, right? But going back to what they were saying, it says the foolish enemy should know that the moment of epic for us is not a moment of avoidance. What comes from the armed forces of Iran is not an equal strike. It is superior strike, a strike that will be more severe, more extensive, and more devastating than ever. Right? There's been a lot of talks about, basically, allegedly, Iran has plans to strike the land of America, right? How they've been talking about Cuba and the drones that they have at Cuba, and how they could even potentially reach New York. Not just because a lot of people were saying that, it won't go past Georgia or South Carolina. But from what I've been researching is that these drones that's in Cuba, they call them kamikaze drones, meaning that they're just really set up to basically be bombs, right? But that these can go a lot further than just Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. They can go all the way to New York, man. All right, man. Let's go to this is Jeremiah 50. Back at Jeremiah 50, let's go down to verse 22. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. Right. The sound of battle is that's why we've been blowing the trumpet, man, of war, right? that battle, that sound of battle is in the air, man. You know, a great destruction. The day of the Lord is near. It says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Right. Because at the end of it all, the prophecy is that Babylon, right, today's Babylon, which is America, will be completely destroyed, as well as the state of Israel, man, you know. But America will become in that lake of fire. That's the prophecy. All right. And, you know, this place has been a hammer, you know, across to the whole world, right? You see what they did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, man. That spooked all the nations when they did that, right? That thing was so powerful that it left the shadows of the people on the concrete, man. You know, that's how powerful that, you know, atomic bomb was, man. And so now you speed it up to today. You know, we in that nuclear age, man. Nuclear missiles. You know, and that's really why they're scared of Iran, man. You know, me personally, I cannot prove that Iran has nukes, but I truly feel like they do have nukes, man. They just sitting on them, right? But again, it's all according to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? They couldn't use it even if they want to, unless it's time, right? Damn, let me grab that real quick. Shit, I don't think I got the apocryphal pulled up. Let's see. Alright, let's go to table of contents. Let's go to second Esdras. It's lucky. I don't want that one. Let's go to I don't know why I can't remember where this is at, but that's right, Habakkuk. I'm tripping. It's Habakkuk 2:1. It says, I will stand upon my watch, right, and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. It says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And that's what people have to remember, man. This is why we have been, you know, called out to do this work, man, to remind people that the vision is set for an appointed time, man. Right? So we make it plain through our videos, right? Because the Lord has made the visions or the prophecies plain to us through the Spirit, through His Spirit, right? The Spirit of truth. So we're passing that message on to the elect, you know, because that's the elect is the only ones that's going to receive it, you know. And we put it out to the whole world, rather they hear or forbear, but the elect is going to receive it. It says, verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? That's what people have to remember, you know. The prophecy has an appointed time. So even if they wanted to use that missile, right, they wouldn't be able to. And this has actually already been proven, you know, because I believe that was in Russia, if I'm not mistaken. One of their nuclear sites, basically went haywire, right? Because of the angels, man. The angels, you know, they was they basically, you know, was, you know, it's a short story, but you know, it's a lot of details in it. We went over this before in the past, man, but how they was hovering over the site and the people couldn't even hit the button if they wanted to, right? But you know, the angels had full control over the whole nuclear site. You know, the people that was there, I believe it was Russians, but the people couldn't cut the machine off. They couldn't do anything. You know, they was completely in the dark. You know, the angels was hovering. I think it was 2 or 3 so-called UFOs, which are the angels in their chariots, hovering over the nuclear site at the time, right? And the people that was in the nuclear site had no control over the missiles. They had no control over anything at the site at all, because it was already infiltrated by the angels, man. You have to remember, man, divine intervention, You know, everything's gonna be, has an appointed time. So, something that drastic, if it's not time, it's not gonna, the Lord's not gonna allow it to happen. But it says, just to finish up the verse, it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it." See, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Right? We have to remember, one day to the Lord is 1,000 years to us. Right? Ain't nothing tarrying to Him, man. It's just that 2/3, of our people in the heathen lack the understanding, they lack the faith, so that's why they end up falling victim to the Lord's prophecies, man, dealing with the judgment, right? And not falling under the right hand of salvation, man, but being under the right hand of that BTA. All right, ain't no point in going into that. But yeah, let's go back to Jeremiah 50. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" See that? Talking about Babylon. How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations, man? And this is a future prophecy for this place as well, man. I always call it Babylon 2.0, but you could say the daughter of Babylon, or this place, the virgin of Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon, Slakia. This place has a judgment from the Lord, though, man. But it's all according to His time. All right. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon becoming desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee." Right, and that snare, right, goes into them creating the atomic bombs, man. Because that's gonna end up being a downfall in the last days, man. Where those atomic bombs have been upgraded to nukes today, right? Dealing with as far as the technology and it has been upgraded. It's no longer just dealing with atoms, right? They have went nuclear with this bad boy, man. Just going a little more depth into the technology, or which will bring a bigger destruction. All right, but that is that snare, right? Since they, drop bombs, and, drop the, atomic bomb on certain places, the same thing is gonna happen to them, man. Right? But it's gonna be 200 million warheads, man. When those nukes get shot off. So like, if you ever watch the movie, not movie, but it's on Netflix. It's a show called Fallout. And the very first, I don't know if it's the first or second episode, I believe it's the first episode, they show you America getting hit with nukes. And it's not just one, it's multiple nukes getting hit, going off all at one time, man. And that's pretty much what, is what's going to happen to this place. All right, but, that's that snare that was laid for thee, man. And thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Though, right, because you reap what you sow, man. And the Lord's going to punish you because of the things you have done to His elect, to His prophets, to His people, His children. It says, "Thou art found and also caught because thou hast striven against the Lord." Right, that's them striven against the Lord. Touching the apple of the Lord's eye. It says, "Yahweh have opened His armory." Right, and when He opened His armory, that knowledge He gave to them to create nukes. Right, and it started with the atomic bombs, and then it progressed from there quickly. Right. The second woe has passed, behold, the third woe coming quickly, roughly paraphrasing, right? Look how fast that technology jumped up, man. Because the Lord did what? It says, "Yahweh have opened His armory and have brought forth the weapons of His indignation," right? And that's going into His ICBMs, that knowledge He gave gave to them from the left-hand side. It says, meaning the left-hand side of the Most High, right? It says, "For this is the work of the Lord God of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans," right? "Come against her from the utmost border upon her storehouses, cast her up as heaps and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left." Right? So we have to remember that's what's coming to this place, man, at the end of it all, man. The Lord has a judgment for this place, and we will be delivered out of it. This is Jeremiah 51:5. And it says, "For Israel have not been forsaken," right, "nor Judah of his God." Right, man. And we haven't been forsaken of our power, man. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And when it says Israel, right, that's talking about, when it says Israel and Judah, right, that's just the full 12 tribes, man. Right, not just the 10 tribes or the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. All right, it's talking about all of it. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah, right? So none of the 12 tribes have been forsaken, right? It says, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel, right? So we haven't been forsaken, though. That's the whole point, Since they, they pretty much tried to utterly destroy us, man. And for that, they have to pay. The Lord's not going to allow them to escape this judgment, man. Plus, it's already written, so it has to happen. All right. This is Isaiah 13, right? And 6. And the subtitle said, Judgment of the Day of the Lord. It says, Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. See there? This is coming from Him. World War III, nuclear destruction. This is all a judgment from Yahweh, right? Yahweh. It says, therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. It says, they shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and He shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened, and his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Right, man. This is the prophecy of World War III, nuclear destruction, man. The sun being blocked out. We can read that again, man, in verse 10. Right? It says, for the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light, right, because of the nuclear fallout. It says, the sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Right? That's all nuclear fallout, man. So it even goes into, man, the pains and sorrows, man, of that nuclear, destruction that's going to basically, melt the soft tissues first, Man, again, verse 9, behold, the days of Yahweh cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger. See that? 'Cause He's pissed off, man. The Lord is pissed, man. The Heavenly Father pissed, and His only begotten Son is just like Him. He's pissed too, right? So they're coming to lay the land desolate, man. And He will destroy the sinners up out of this place, man, while He delivers the elect, right? So I'm going to end it there, man. Just remember verse 11, and then I will punish the world for their evil. This is why all heathen nations are going to be a part of this last days, man. The day of the Lord. They all got a punishment they got to put, but Esau, Edom, they got the worst punishment of them all, man. It says, and I will cause the arrogancy, right, of the proud to cease. And look, that's, man. And look who's running America now. Look how arrogant this man is, man. But it's not just him. It's their whole nation, right? It says, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Again, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Shalom and DTA.